It's no surprise that the New York Rangers are going to be very active this July 1st, and a new report reveals that they may be looking to make a huge splash in free agency this year, and the name might surprise New York Rangers fans. We're going to break all of that down, but before we do, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 80% of you watching our videos are not actually subscribed, so if you want to do yourself a favor, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers. The draft is around the corner. Free agency, along with that, is going to be a very exciting time to see what GM Chris Drury does to rejig the team, but I won't make you wait any longer. The name might surprise you, but before we get into it, it started with this initial report. It just came out and it really caught my eye, and obviously it's from Peter Baugh. He is saying that there is some rumblings that he has heard as free agency grows near, and it linked with an article, and the name of the player might surprise you. My sense, this is the official quote from Peter, my sense is the Rangers looked at Tyler Toffoli around the trade deadline, and now he'll be a free agent after finishing last season with the Winnipeg Jets, which was kind of weird. I forgot that happened, actually. At 32, Toffoli is likely looking at his last chance to get a larger deal, and he could fetch a contract around 4 years at more than $5 million annually. The Rangers could find a way to make that work, but they'd probably need to clear some cap space via trades. We'll see how willing general manager Chris Drury is to make that happen. Toffoli has had 30-plus goals each of the past 2 seasons. And again, that's from Peter. And very interesting to link Tyler Toffoli to the New York Rangers. Obviously, there was some smoke, and where there's smoke, there's fire sometimes around the trade deadline. They were sniffing around Tyler Toffoli. And honestly, he could have been a big help. This guy is a pure scorer. Again, not a pure scorer, but he's going to score, maybe 20 to 30 goals for you in a season. At his age now, and obviously playing with the high-end talent the Rangers have, that wouldn't be a problem. But they would have to be able to make the salary work, because $5 million would be steep for another player like that. But I'm not going to be too surprised if they do, make a move to kind of free up enough salary there to sign a player like this. But we'll get into it more as we go here. And this was also part 2, including Toffoli. There's some other options in there too, although I think Toffoli is the most intriguing of them all. But he goes on to say, unless the Rangers make larger salary cap clearing moves, then it would take the time sign somebody else like Toffoli. The team's cap situation likely takes them out of the conversation for some of the wings at the top of the market, like Tyler Toffoli. Obviously, Jonathan Marchessault is a free agent this year, and Jake Guentzel, which I had a video on, so go check that out if you want to see my thoughts on Jake Guentzel to the New York Rangers. But Toffoli, and if you want to pause and read the rest too, there's some other targets there, some free agency targets, but we'll get into that in another video too. But pretty interesting, with the Rangers having to clear cap. I wonder who it could be. There's lots of chatter about Jacob Trouba potentially being moved on from, and obviously that is a big salary cap hit. So obviously you could afford Toffoli with that. I think the salary cap coming in and around $5 million for him is about right. It probably would take him to 37 years old, maybe even 36. I'm not sure what he's looking for. He's obviously looking to win. And that's something that makes sense to me in this situation. The Rangers are absolutely in win now mode. They're in a Stanley Cup window. So if he were to come to New York, clearly he's going to have a great chance to win the Stanley Cup. The Rangers made the 3rd round this year and lost to a better team. It is what it is. But the Rangers can retool and make their team better. And I wonder if they took a look at a player like Tyler Toffoli. It was very interesting. We'll get into his stats in just a minute. But again, there are multiple reports coming out on this, and we're going to get into another one as well. This one from Jim, why Tyler Toffoli could be a good fit for the Rangers in free agency. He goes on to say that, it could mean that Lafreniere switches lines next season. He could play with Zibanejad and Kreider instead, giving Kakko or someone else the chance to go up a line. Or, if they get to Toffoli, that won't happen. So I wonder if they have to find another role for Kakko. But, and I had a bunch of videos on that last week in finding a role. So maybe, I don't know, they have to see what they have in Kakko as well heading into next season. But if you want to pause and read some of this as well, some interesting insight. New York is $10 million under the cap so far, but they still need to re-sign restricted RFA free agents, Ryan Lindgren and Braden Schneider, of course, which are going to command a lot of money. I'm going to have a video soon on Ryan Lindgren as well, because it sounds like he might demand quite a bit of money. So that makes the cap situation even more interesting, because what if all 10 million of that goes to those two players, which is a little ridiculous. I know I don't think it would be exactly all 10 million, but would you have enough to, upgrade the team and get Tyler Toffoli? That's interesting. I think they do have to move on from somebody. Who is it? That is the question of the hour. But we will get into Tyler Toffoli's stats, at least last season. Obviously played some time with the New Jersey Devils, Winnipeg Jets, finished the year as we mentioned. He's 32. He's going to be 33 next season. Obviously a pretty good goal scorer. He had 55 points last year on a pretty abysmal team, which I think counts for something. He scored 33 goals last year, scored 30 goals the year before that. Can play, obviously, up and down the lineup, right? He can be not up and down the lineup, but he can be pretty versatile. He could play on a second line for you, right? Maybe even third line, give you third line scoring option. Maybe not at that $5 million price point, but I'm sure he wants to be on a competitive team. So 33 goals would be pretty good for the New York Rangers. This would be a very interesting target for them. Obviously, his advanced stats are pretty good on a pretty bad team, right? And to average about 17 minutes a night, too, pretty good. He can be... the Rangers' power play is very good as well until they hit the third round, of course, but it is still pretty good. But this could add just another weapon or even another weapon to power play, too. So pretty interesting. Very interesting target here for the New York Rangers. And if you look at his past stats, too, nothing to bat an eye about. I mean, he is pretty consistent at what he does. He's not like an elite scorer, but the Rangers do have some of those. But for what he can chip in every year for you, pretty effective. And I mean, he's been on some great teams. He went to the final with Montreal when he was there. Calgary had a pretty good season the first year he was there. Obviously didn't really find success with the New Jersey Devils, but chipped in a couple points in the playoffs for the Winnipeg Jets. So obviously didn't turn out the way he wanted it to in Winnipeg, but again, multiple reports linking Tyler Toffoli to the New York Rangers, but sounds like some other teams, of course, are interested in the forward as well, including him returning to New Jersey, obviously the Rangers' rival, so that could be pretty interesting as well. And again, we'll take one last look at Toffoli stats from last year. Again, on a pretty bad team, I thought he had a pretty good season, right? When you're on a bad team, it's hard to score. We've seen it before, and a lot of these targets that are acquired for, at the trade deadline for the playoffs. So can still be very effective at his age, and it's a very interesting target for the New York Rangers. So let me know in the comments what you think. Is this a player you think that the Rangers should target and spend that amount of cap on? Because he's obviously going to get a raise. This is his last contract, but I think the fact that he does probably want to win a Stanley Cup, play on a competitive team, lends to the fact that maybe he would come to a team like the New York Rangers. It's going to be very interesting to watch. But like I said, let me know in the comments what you think. Yes or no to Tyler Toffoli. Are there any other targets that you would like or that I should cover on the channel? We will have a video on Ryan Lindgren coming up. So if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.